Okay, today we're interviewing Kirby and Paul Baynes, a couple free safeties, DBs. Had a lot of success for us the last couple of years. We're excited to have Kirby back for another year. Paul next year is going to be running around in his Domer stuff. Grandpa Gardner would have a lot to say about anybody going to Notre Dame, but we're proud of him. We're excited to see what happens. But we're going to talk to the boys today about Park City football, what it means to them, what their experiences have been, maybe a little bit about the passing league. They both coached in it. Kirby got to play in it the first year, so he's got kind of a unique experience that maybe we haven't heard yet. Some of the other guys have been interviewed have just been from the coaching side. So first thing, let's go ahead and start. Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let people know a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm Paul. I played football all the way since I was 9 years old. In high school, my sophomore year, I played varsity corner. And then my junior year, I played varsity safety. In my senior year, I played 3 games of varsity safety for shoulder surgery. I've coached the passing league for the past 3 years, I think. Might only be 2 years, however long it's been going on. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been awesome. I love working with the kids, and I'm going to miss it.
All right, Kirby, you're up.
Kirby. I'm a junior this year. I was the safety this year on the Park City defense. I play a little bit of offense, but not much. I guess I've been playing football since I was 8 years old, back down in youth. The passing league, I played the first year it came out, and I've been coaching ever since. So it's been a great experience, and it's been fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. You guys are super competitive, but like you do it the right way, right? Like you're hooting and hollering, you get frustrated, and that's what I like about the environment. It's so relaxed, but like it's the right kind of competitive thing. The music's going, you guys want to win, you're rooting for your kids. You're not maybe rooting against each other a little bit, but you guys have a good time with that. That's what I always think about when I think about the league is you guys with your play cards, jumping around, hooting and hollering. And I miss it a ton. Like it's one of those things that I look forward to just because I love the game. Right. And I just don't like being that far away from it. So it's great to have that spring experience. And that's probably the hardest part about what we're going through right now is I don't think I've ever been this far detached from the game since I've got back into it. Right. And so doing these things is a great way to reconnect with you guys. I've been talking to a lot of coaches and reading and stuff, but let's maybe I'm sure you probably had some different experiences. I like Curb, you Z down in youth once, right? Right.
Yeah.
Level. And Paul, you're with that group that had 3 teams. So maybe we'll start first with Paul. So what are some of your, the biggest things, the top couple things that you remember about youth league? What stuck with you?
I don't know. I guess a lot of it. I just loved playing with my friends. The biggest thing I think is having my friends around. It was so much fun. Even you'd show up to practice late in the season. You're in the playoffs or right before the playoffs, and it's snowing, and the ground's covered in snow, and it's freezing. It's below 30 degrees, and everybody's just complaining about how cold they are. But then at the end of the day, you leave, and you just had a bunch of fun with your boys. That's kind of all it came down to. I think that was the biggest thing for me, just being able to hang out with my friends, kind of forced hangouts for 2 hours a day, every day of the week.
Definitely. Curb, how about you? What sticks out for you from your youth days?
I think just the kind of how competitive our team was. Because back in youth, our team was pretty well known, and I think the kids that are on our team kind of know that. I just think that we kind of made, play a lot. We played really some hard teams. We used to play Granger, which that's actually what I remember the most. Is every year playing them in the finals, and walking out in the field and just seeing all those the Tongans, and I don't know, that's always stuck with me and just kind of been something that when I look back, I get the butterflies again, and kind of it brings back memories.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. I know your dad talks about those Granger matchups and how much fun they were and how he was stealing because they were just huge and you guys were out just running around praying for your lives, and somehow you got it done, which is kind of what we've done at the varsity level the last couple of years. We don't win the eye test coming off the bus, but we just happen to be good at the game, right? And it's still a game. It's meant to be played. And Paul, I love your answer because that's what my memories of youth ball are, right? It wasn't about And we had I think I had both experiences. I think my 7th grade year, we went undefeated and gave up like 40 yards all season. It was something stupid. And then my 8th grade year, we were dog awful. Right. But like, I remember like practices and having fun and being goofy and that kind of stuff more than I remember like how much we won or lost by. Right. Like, I think that's the goal for a lot of these kids. Like, sometimes we get, a little too worried about wins and losses. And it should be about the fun, the experience of it, and loving the game. Now, you both kind of got on the field. Kirby, you got on the field a little bit as a sophomore, but you had some injuries you were dealing with. Paul, you got on about mid-year. What was that the first, like, you can be the first start, or it could be like the first game where you felt like you contributed in. Like Ogden, Paul, I'd love to really hear about your first start at Ogden. You're nervous. From my recollection is that you were super nervous, way excited. And so I just would like to hear your take on your first varsity start.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nerve-wracking. I remember actually the first time was in Stansbury. I remember, I got in for a couple plays, and then I came out, and then I just remember you yelling like, "Paulie, get in there!" And I'm sitting there like, legs started shaking. I was like, "Oh God!" Like, I could tell in the tone of your voice. It was like, "Okay, so this is me for the rest of the game." Like, I'm in there now for it. So I go in, and their running back was a beast, and their slot back was a beast. And so I'm sitting there, and you got to remember, I'm sitting there, and I've got a Princeton lacrosse commit as our safety, and the other corner is like the biggest beast on the field, Joey Lukeridge, and I'm sitting there like with those two, like, and here's little Paulie as a sophomore, and oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I'm sitting there, but the biggest thing I remember from that game is one of the guys, he broke one of their running backs. They ran a play, and he was running down the sideline with nobody else, and I came down from like the opposite side corner as fast as I could, and it's still my favorite highlight. I got him on like the 10-yard line, just barely like nicked his ankles and brought him down. And I get up, and everybody's sitting there on the sideline, all the seniors and juniors, and even kids that had come back to just watch the game, that had played football from years before, and they were all hyping me up. I don't know. I guess looking back at it now is one of the best experiences in high school football.
That's awesome.
But then I also remember Ogden. We were playing a really good game. We were playing really well. Everything was really sound. And I remember the quarterback rolled out, and I came down, and as he threw the ball, somebody else hit him in the ribs, and so the ball kind of went weird, and I jumped up and caught it, and I saw open space down the field, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to take this one to the house." And I started running, and then I feel a hand clip my ankle, and it goes across, it hits my other foot, and I fell, and I was so upset. But it was still such a cool experience.
Definitely. All right, Curb, what's like your first like varsity impact? Like, you remember like, this is the real deal.
Yeah. So I guess I got in a couple times when we were kind of whooping some teams. Paul would come out and you just kind of throw me in, and that was awesome. That was really awesome. But I think the first kind of real experience that I got was in dime package. When we were playing some really good teams that could throw the ball around, you pull out, I think it was a linebacker, and then chuck me in at like a kind of a weak safety or a backside safety. And I think that's kind of where it all started for me, because I remember like looking around and I'm just seeing all these big time juniors and seniors kind of right next to me. And at the time I was a sophomore, but they didn't really treat me as a sophomore. They kind of treated me as someone on the defense. So I kind of just like, it was crazy to, see the ball snap and kind of be really part of the play, and just knowing that like, this is time to show up and play some ball,
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's one of my things about my experience in high school. I remember my first game and like being wildly nervous, and then making a play and like, oh, okay, it's just football. It's fine. You kind of make it bigger. Like you said, you're looking around like, that's Joey, that's Bo, it's this, like, I'm like, okay, I can do this, and I think it's, I hope that you guys know that, like, for me, like, you're not getting in the game until I can trust you. Right. And like, I think that's part when maybe why they treated you that way, Kirby, is because those guys know like you're not getting in without me trusting you. And if coach can trust you, then they know who can trust you. I think that's the thing that we've done over the past couple of years on defense, is that we're pretty tight for each other. Right. Like we know what the expectations. I'm not always easy to play for. And I think you guys all kind of rally around each other. I can get after you pretty good. So now let's talk about some, maybe some of our you know, other experiences through high school. You know, we talked about some highlights, but like, you know, when you think of the lowlights and or like the thing that like maybe I'll regret, you know, what comes to your mind as far as like, you know, something you wish you had another shot at, or you know, those kinds of things.
I remember one specific time, one of the first games that I started playing in as a sophomore. We were playing Ben Lomond. It was a really close game. And I was back at corner, and they had, you know, their best player just right across from me at receiver. I remember Tayshawn Doss, that's his name. And he ran a post, caught it right over me, and scored a touchdown to put them up by 6 points. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh, like, you know, nobody yelled at me. Nobody, you know, even said anything. I could just tell, like, I just let the boys down. Luckily, Mark McCurdy made some sweet plays at the end of that game, like God-level plays, and ended up I don't remember if he scored, but he's the reason that we ended up scoring again and winning that game. But oh my gosh, I remember sitting there on the sideline, like, you know, it's the worst feeling I've ever had, is feeling like I let down my boys. At the end of the day, it wasn't even because, you know, nobody said anything, nobody yelled at me. I was just like, you know, I'm on that field to help everybody out, and these are my boys. And, you know, it's a bad feeling to feel like you let them down.
Curb, you got one? You still got time, you know, so.
Yeah, only my junior year, but I got a couple. Just because, like, you brought it up, I definitely remember Snow Canyon, third quarter. I think it was around third quarter. We were up by, I think, like a good I took 2 touchdowns maybe. I don't know. I think we were up by a good amount. It was kind of we just got to make a stop, you know, and we'd be gold. They run a little screen. You know, I'm running down. I'm like, all right, big hit time. Like, I'm going to lay the wood on this kid. Lower my head and just totally miss him. He runs down the sideline, gets tripped up, I think, by Mark, like down on like the 2-yard line. And I remember just like running down the sideline after everyone, like, it's just the worst feeling ever. Yeah, I just remember running down. Like, I knew you were looking at me from the sideline. I knew everyone. I was like, oh man, because it was an easy. I could have just shuffled down, made the tackle. You know, it was an easy tackle, but I decided to try to make the big play. And
big highlight shot, huh? Nice.
Yeah,
So, you know, you both had a unique experience. I hope everybody gets some experiences you guys have had. You know, one of the coolest things I think over the last couple of years is, and this is something that not everybody gets to be a part of, and I don't think everybody should be a part of. One of the special things I think that we as a group went through the last couple of years is you guys taping up in the locker room at Rice Eccles, right? Pre-game, the feeling in that room is unbelievable. As a coach, it's the most unique thing that I've ever been a part of. We've talked about a lot about the brotherhood and the family nature of why we do this and what makes us want to play harder and play better. But, you know, talk a little bit about that, because I think that's something special. That's not something that everyone's guaranteed to get that experience. But man, if we can get them there, if you can talk a little bit about that pregame kind of feeling, lacing them up before you know, a state semifinal or a state final game.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my junior year being in that locker room, and just like, you're sitting there and it's just, there's music playing, and the locker room is just beautiful. It's better than anything you have all year. You know, it's a real D1 college locker room. You're sitting there and everybody just heads down, music playing, everybody's in the zone. It's just crazy. And then it's funny because I get, you know, both experiences. I have that where I'm about to play the game. We go on the field, I warm up, I'm all hype and ready. And then I have the next year where I'm not playing, I'm in a sling. But it's still cool because I can sit there and I can feel the chemistry between everybody in the locker room, and how the music's still blaring, and it still gets you hyped. You know, I'm sitting there in a sling, like, you know, can't run, can't do anything. I'm still sitting there with, like, eyes wide open, like, this is so sick. Like, you know, my boys are about to play a game. Like, you know, it's super hype. Oh, it's the coolest feeling ever.
Curb?
Yeah, luckily I got to play well, not really play the first time, but I got there twice, my sophomore year and my junior year. And my sophomore year was a little bit different than my junior year, obviously, but my sophomore year I was more just along for the ride.
Yeah.
But still, kind of being in that locker room, looking around and just seeing, like, everyone getting ready to go is just kind of a different aspect. And then what I remember is just walking out of the tunnel and looking up and seeing the big Rice Eccles on the side and the lights blaring down, and, you know, the field's just lit up. I don't know, it's just something crazy. And then my junior year, the same thing happens, but this time I'm a little more kind of ready, because I know that, like, it's my time to shine. Like, I'm part of that team and part of that, you know what I mean? So it's two different experiences, but still just crazy, just a crazy experience.
Yeah. You guys, I would say you're both extremely hard workers, right? Like, not only academically, but in practice and in the weight room. I just think you guys work hard, right? And if you take a second, you think about all the work that you put in from the time you were 8, 9 years old, right? And to get paid off like that, right? Like, knowing that would probably put you guys in the top 2 or 3% of workers that I have ever coached, right? Like, over a decade of being around kids, thousands of kids, teenage kids, you guys work as hard and are as accountable to your work as anybody I've been around. So if the hard workers, the guys that put in so much time, do you feel like it was worth it? Do you feel like all the extra work? Because I'm not talking about coach says I need to lift weights. We're going to lift weights 3 days a week. You guys are doing stuff above and beyond that maybe some of your other teammates don't do, or maybe people don't realize how much extra time some of our major contributors have done. With all that being said, all the work you put in, do you feel like it was really worth it, even though we didn't get the outcome we wanted? We didn't get that final payout.
100%. I think part of the thing about working hard is it's less about like, I just want this specific outcome. I want to like look good for so-and-so. It's more about doing it for you. More like, I want to walk in a weight room and I want to lift and get better just because I want to get better. It's not just to be better at football or track or look good for a coach. It's like, I just want to get better. You just like, because it's going to be impossible to put in like your maximum effort if you're only going to do it for other people.
Right.
So it's about like kind of doing it for yourself and, getting stronger because you want to be stronger, seeing, your friends getting stronger, the other people on your team getting stronger, and just wanting to compete with them in a positive way. I think that's like the main reason that it's worth it is because at the end of the day, even if, we'd lost in the first round of the playoffs, it'd still be worth it. It doesn't matter, where the season ended or, what the outcome was, because you didn't put in the work you put in the work to try to get that specific outcome, but that's not the only reason. You put in the work to put in the work.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of selfishness that we need, and it's a team sport. Like, if you're not your personal best, how can the guy next to you be his personal best, right? And that's what it's about. Is like, if you can be the best version of you, it takes the load off the other guys, right? And maybe it gives them a chance to be special. And so, yeah, it's one of those weird balances between being selfish and being a good team player. I know it's kind of doesn't always make sense. Curb, about you. What do you think? Do you think it was worth it?
I agree with Paul. To kind of build on what you were saying, it's kind of hard to really tell if it pays off, but it definitely does. It's kind of one of those things. It's like maybe I tipped that pass because I've been putting in the work to get my broad jump better, or I made that tackle like in that certain spot because I worked on my speed, or all that kind of stuff that if I didn't put in the work, I just wouldn't be in the places that I was at the time. So just that kind of stuff, being able to kind of be in the right place at the right time and help your teammates out and make your teammates the best they can be. Definitely. It all just pays off to help everyone.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys are, one thing I like about you guys too is a lot of places I've been before, guys who kind of specialize, and you both play multiple sports. Obviously, both play a spring sport and both play at a high level, right? And I know it's a bummer with what's going on because you both lost a season. Paul, you had big hopes for this year. You got 3 games, man. Pretty rough.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about do you obviously there's certain physical attributes by playing other sports, but do you think that talk about as far as like playing that second sport, or even if football is your second sport, how playing football helped your track and track helped football for you? Like, talk a little bit about just overall that pursuit of playing a second sport.
Yeah. I love football and track, and originally I started running track to try to get better for football. And I started running, and I fell in love with it. I just, where a lot of other sports are kind of like, it's like subjective, kind of who's better, who's not. I loved about track where it's like, you're either faster than somebody or you're not. You don't bring all these other aspects like, oh, like he's a better athlete because of this, or he's better at this because of that. It's just, it's either you're faster at this distance or you're slower than somebody at this distance. So that's what I love about track. But the thing about track is it's not a team sport. So it's just, and football is just huge on the team. Like, it's not just a bunch of like individual pieces that are trying to, do their own thing to get a goal. They have to work together. There has to be a good chemistry between that team to be a good team. So, and I think like 100%, it's a circle of just like how they benefit each other. Because definitely the speed that I got from running track 100% contributed to me having a good junior year in football. And also, like, in terms of football, I just gained such a mental toughness that made it so that, like, at the end of a 400-meter dash, when it's like, it's brutal, but it's just like, I've been through more pain. Like, this isn't like the worst thing ever. Like, practices for football, out there, running with your guys, it just is a circle. I get the mental toughness from football. I get the speed from track. It's, yeah, I definitely would say it's a circle that just, it all helps each other, and it's also just so much fun.
Yeah, definitely. Curb?
Yeah, I think it just kind of builds all like the pieces to the puzzle with someone. Because I play football and lacrosse, and lacrosse is a lot more of like kind of an open, flowy sport, which is a lot different from football. But I think, all attributes of lacrosse and football kind of help with the other sport. And also, like, when I play lacrosse, I made the varsity team as a freshman, so I was, already just thrown right into like that big competition level. So it kind of helped me kind of throw me in the mix of high level play. So I think that also helped me as a person to kind of, always be playing like with people who are, really like high level players, So I think it just kind of, one always helps with the other and vice versa. So I think it's always great to play two sports.
Yeah, definitely. I played multiple sports in high school, and for me, and we, way back in the 90s, football wasn't maybe as year round as it is now. I always liked to play my other sports. Again, it was my boys. I always played team sports. But it was a way to mentally get away. Like playing basketball and baseball made me love football more, right? Because I'd miss it. By the time we get into 9 games, 10 games, in our case, 13 or 14 games, it's nice to get mentally shifted away, right? Like you need to go, all right, get the lacrosse pole out. All right, where are my spikes? I got to start getting my body ready for this. Like, I think that's part of the benefit that a lot of people don't always get, is that the mental break of having something else to be competitive at. Like, we always want to compete, and you guys being brothers, you guys compete over everything. At least my brother and I always did. But it's always nice to get that mental break from, the grind. And so I think that's part of the thing I like too about the passing league too, is that, you're a young guy, you need more time in football, but it's just different enough that it doesn't get too far away, right? It gives you a bit of a tune up going before the summer. So I'm huge into multiple sport guys. And I appreciate that. That's part of the work ethic, right? Like you could sit around and, would you have been a better football player just lifting weights? I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that think that, but I think you guys done it the right way. If you look back at some of the other guys that have been successful in our program, a lot of those guys are doing multiple sports. And so it's a huge piece, I think, what makes you guys competitive, what makes you special. And I just want to thank you guys for coming on and doing this. I know it's been especially hard. You guys are staying active. I know you're working out. You're doing the best you can. So real quick, do you have a date where you're leaving for Notre Dame yet?
Yeah, the weekend of August 21st. That's the kind of the show up weekend. It's nice because, since track's not a summer training sport, I show up with all the other students, and the official, I'll have captain's practices like a couple weeks or a month into the school year, and then after a couple weeks of that, we'll get into the real practices and then into the winter season.
Awesome. That's great, man. I'm excited for it. I can't wait. I'm going to have to actually root for Notre Dame for the first time in my life. Hopefully I can handle it. But Kirb, I'd love to tell you when your next thing's coming, man. I'm excited. I've got some ideas as far as you and I and some of the other guys, the experienced guys coming back to starters, about doing some stuff in training, mentally training, right? Like getting in there and understanding the defense and trying to build so that we're not giving away this time, right? Like, and so just be on the lookout for that. And I appreciate you guys, and appreciate you taking the time to do this on a Sunday with me. Go Miners.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. See you, Coach.
See you, boys.
Have a good day.
We would like to thank Move Strength and Conditioning for being a proud sponsor of the Park City Passing League. Move is here to help you get on track to achieve your goals for whatever sport you play. Move is offering Zoom classes for kids during the current healthcare crisis. If you're interested in learning more about the classes or services, reach out to Move today.